is Miles Wulu, aka Wulu, Miles from the Topcraft. I'm a musician, artist, creative, and generally out to take over the world. Sometimes I have a vision before I get into the studio. Sometimes I might have a sample or something that that kind of hits a note in my mind, or might have a voice note. Most of the time, I'm just jamming with myself. I'm just going in there with an instrument. It might be the bass, might be the drums, MPC, guitar, whatever. And I just jangle along until I'm seeing something or feeling something. How does this make me feel, and how can I develop this feeling? Literally, most of the time. So when I'm getting into sessions with people, sometimes people like looking at me like, you know, like, can we do a song in the key of whatever? And I'm like, cool, yeah. I'm just gonna throw things in the pot, and if you're down to throw them in the pot with me, then we can strip them back later. But as long as I can create sort of freedom to just create, then I'm in. I'm well up for it. Or just freedom to make mistakes, or freedom to like start again. You know, that's what it's all about. Just keeping it moving rather than dwelling too much on the awkward part of something. Be that the awkward thing in the awkward feeling in the room, or the awkward idea that isn't going that well that I'm trying to salvage.
Do you trust your ears?
Not all the time. Yeah, I do. I definitely have ringing ears a lot. I'll hear frequencies just die. So sometimes I'm like, this sounds great. And then I listen to it somewhere else, I'm like, it was like 3 in the morning and you were like really stoned, and like actually what you're listening to is not really what you thought you heard. Or I'll go to a mixing session and be like, I want it to sound like this band. And then I'll listen to that band on their speakers and be like, oh, that's totally not what I imagined it to. Because what I've realized in a lot of mixing processes is that I'm imagining what I want things to sound like rather than what they actually sound like. So I do trust my ears, but I think I trust my instinct more.
Vibe over quality?
Yeah.
Or quality over vibe?
Vibe over quality, man. Definitely. Because some of the tracks on the album, definitely recorded that in a pub. Definitely recorded it in a pub. And the jams were like 20 minutes long. But because the vibe was the one, I couldn't, even though we even play it differently now, and we almost play it tighter now as well, didn't care. It was like the sound of, and the sound of us freestyling and creating is really what drew me to it.
If there was a musical era you could find yourself in, where or when would that be?
If I could take the 70s and the 90s and miss out the 80s and put them together, that would be me. Because I want the bagginess of the 90s, and I want the muted analog richness of the 70s.
A particular piece of gear that is just essential in your creative process?
My MPC, definitely. My MPC allowed me, when I got the 1000, it just made me use my ears so much more. Like, instead of looking at the computer and being like, does it look finished? Is the arrangement right? Oh, I can see when it's about to come in and da-da-da-da-da. There was something about just having an MPC and a record player, whacking a needle on there, catching something in a weird, like stopping and starting the way you want to stop and start the sample. Accidents became such a thing to me. I feel like, generally, the screens can be a hindrance. Thing about just being able to use your ears and use them in a way that just makes you feel different about what you're making. And there's probably a few others, like really and truly, if I could pick a few, the MPC bass guitar, that would definitely be the three pillars, because I can do everything on there.
What do you love about the work that you do?
I love the fact that I can rely on myself to feed myself from my creativity, and I don't have to answer to no one about what that means. Obviously, it can be different. Like if you're seeing music as a career or as a way to gain money, there's ways in which that you can do that, depending on if you're enjoying what you're doing. Some people really enjoy, like, you know, workaholics and just being pop artists and just sort of knocking out like David Guetta tunes and stuff. I don't really like that. The fact that I can enjoy myself while being able to support my friends and family, that's a great feeling. And the community of it. It's like everything that I've learned from you, everything I've learned from Raw Material, everything I've learned from my whole journey has added so much to giving back to who's coming next. And that's all in the music thing. That's all like, because before I remember growing up being like, you know that film House Party? Like with Kid and Play. Is it Kid and Play? Yeah. And there was a scene in it when the DJ's like, yo, I've got some white label hip hop. Now through some of the documentaries, I learned that people used to cover their records with white labels so people couldn't see what they were up to. And I was just like, but eventually, with YouTube and all of that, that's why I always say YouTube University. It's just like, once you understand the process, it's like if there's certain things that I knew back then, I'll be further to where I am now. But being in places like Raw Material and being around people that want to give that information and not hold it back is what I've benefited from. So I love the fact that I can take that information, apply it to myself, be able to support myself and support people around me with the same information and the same know-how. Because a lot of the music that I've done and the whole album that I've written is based on my own experience, but also around the experience of working with younger people and trying to understand their headspace and process inside their own thing, but also letting them know that you can do anything you want in life. You just got to ask people the right question, or you just got to have the information. And I'm the kind of person who will happily give you that information.